$180,000. That is how much money one farmer lost from 1 acre of land in 4 years. Not because the land was bad, not because the market was bad, not because he was lazy. He lost it because nobody told him the truth about small-scale farming. And the worst part, he did everything the YouTube videos told him to do. Today, I'm going to be the person who actually tells you the truth. No motivational speeches, no dream farm tours, no you can do it nonsense. Just the 7 mistakes that silently kill small farms. And exactly what to do instead. Stay until mistake number 5. Because that one mistake alone is responsible for more than 60% of all small farm failures in the United States. Let's begin. Before I start, let me tell you who this video is not for. If you have 50 acres, significant capital, and an established market network, this video is not for you. This video is for the person who has 1 acre, maybe 2, someone who is seriously thinking about starting a farm, or someone who already started and feels like something is not working. This video is for the person who watched 10 farming videos and felt more confused after each one. Because here is the problem with most farming content online. It shows you the destination. It never shows you the roadblocks. I am going to show you the roadblocks in detail, with real numbers, with real stories. Because understanding what goes wrong is the fastest path to making things go right. The first mistake is the one almost every first-time farmer makes. They take their 1 acre of land and they plant 1 crop on all of it. Corn, or soybeans, or tomatoes, or garlic, 1 crop is everywhere. I understand why. It feels logical. It feels manageable. 1 crop means 1 set of knowledge, 1 harvest schedule, 1 market to find. But here is the scientific reality. A single crop farm is one of the most fragile systems that exists in nature. Research from land-grant universities across the country has documented this for decades. Monocultures deplete specific soil nutrients at accelerated rates because the same crop removes the same minerals every season. Within 5 to 7 years, yields begin dropping even with the same fertilizer input. Then there is market risk. In 2019, garlic farmers across California's Central Valley who had planted garlic on their entire acreage watched prices collapse by more than 70% in a single season due to import flooding. The farmers who had diversified even 30% of their land into other crops survived. The monoculture farmers lost everything. The fix: never allow any single crop or income stream to exceed 40% of your farm's total income. Diversify across at least 4 income sources from day one, even if each one is small. A small income from milk, a small income from eggs, a small income from vegetables, a small income from fruit trees. 4 small streams are infinitely more stable than 1 large stream. Let me tell you about a farmer named James from central Georgia. James watched videos about Holstein Friesian cows, the classic black and white dairy cows you see on commercial farms in Wisconsin. They produce 7 to 9 gallons of milk per day. He was impressed. He spent $4,800 on 2 Holstein heifers. Within 8 months, both cows were chronically ill. Or the problem? Holsteins are bred and optimized for temperate northern climates with mild summers. Georgia summers regularly exceed 95 degrees Fahrenheit with high humidity. These animals experience serious heat stress above 77 degrees. Heat stress does not just reduce milk production, it causes reproductive failure, immune system collapse, and chronic illness. James lost both animals. and most of his starting capital. This is not an unusual story. It happens constantly, with exotic vegetable seed varieties marketed for European conditions, imported fish species unsuited to local water temperature, and high-production poultry breeds that require climate-controlled housing to perform. Here is the rule. Locally adapted breeds and varieties are not inferior, as they are optimized by generations of natural selection for exactly your conditions. For hot, humid climates, consider Dexter cattle, Nubian dairy goats, or Catadin sheep, all heat-tolerant and low input. For pasture-raised poultry in variable climates, heritage breeds like Black Australorp, Buckeye, or Delaware consistently outperform commercial breeds in uncontrolled environments. Yes, high-production exotic breeds sometimes yield more under ideal conditions, but they require more inputs, more veterinary intervention, and more controlled infrastructure to do so. On a 1-acre farm with limited capital, that equation almost always fails. Start with what works in your climate. Understand your environment first. Then, after 2 or 3 years of stable income, experiment with selective improvements. Most new farmers focus on what they are going to grow. Almost none of them focus on what they are going to grow it in. Your soil is not just dirt. It is a living ecosystem containing billions of microorganisms per teaspoon: bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes. These organisms break down organic matter, fix nitrogen from the atmosphere, suppress plant diseases, and make nutrients available to plant roots. Healthy soil feeds your crops. Degraded soil forces you to buy more and more synthetic fertilizer just to maintain the same yield. Here is what happens on most new farms. Year 1, normal yield. Farmer is satisfied. Year 2, slightly lower yield. Farmer adds more fertilizer. Year 3, significantly lower yield. Farmer adds even more fertilizer and pesticide. Year 4, farmer is confused, spending more than ever, earning less than ever. A 2021 study published in the journal Nature Sustainability found that continuous synthetic fertilizer application without organic matter replenishment reduces soil microbial diversity by up to 40% within 5 years. Less microbial diversity means less nutrient cycling. Less nutrient cycling means crops require more and more external input just to survive. The soil is dying, silently, while the farmer blames the weather. The fix is not complicated. Get a soil test before you begin. Your local USDA Cooperative Extension Office can direct you to a certified lab, often at low or no cost. Then repeat the test every 2 years. Add organic matter consistently. Compost, vermicompost, cover crops, and crop residue incorporation. Reduce synthetic fertilizer inputs gradually as your soil biology recovers. A farm with living, a healthy soil gets cheaper to run every year, not more expensive. I want to pause here for a moment, because I know what some of you are thinking right now. You are thinking, this is all theory. Show me the actual farm design. And I will. In the final section of this video, I will show you exactly how a 1-acre farm should be structured to avoid all of these mistakes simultaneously. But I need you to understand the mistakes first, because if you skip this part and jump directly to the design, you will build the same farm that thousands of people have built before you, and you will make the same mistakes they made. The design without the understanding is just a map you cannot read. 3 more mistakes, then the design. Stay with me. This mistake does not kill farms suddenly. It suffocates them quietly for years. Here is the reality of agricultural pricing in America. The farmer who grows tomatoes receives 15 cents to 30 cents per pound at the wholesale level. Those same tomatoes pass through a broker, then a regional distributor, then a retail chain. The consumer pays $2 to $3.50 per pound at the grocery store. The farmer, the person who did all the work, bore all the risk, invested all of the capital, receives less than 15 cents of every dollar the consumer spends. This is not an accident. It is a supply chain structure that has existed for generations, and most farmers simply accept it. The ones who build real wealth do not accept it. Case study: David, Central Virginia. David had 1.2 acres and was growing mixed vegetables. For 4 years, he sold everything to a local wholesale buyer. His income barely covered costs. In 2020, he made one change. He launched a 40-family CSA, Community-Supported Agriculture, subscription. $35 per week, weekly fresh vegetable box delivered locally. Within 18 months, he had 180 subscriber families. His income nearly tripled from the same land, the same crops, the same inputs. He did not grow more. He sold smarter. Strategies that eliminate the middleman. Direct CSA subscription boxes delivered to local families. Facebook Marketplace and neighborhood app selling. Farm-to-restaurant contracts, especially for organic and specialty produce. Agritourism and pick-your-own experiences. Farmers markets in nearby towns. Value addition is the other half of this equation. Processed products you make from your own farm output sell for 3 to 10 times the raw ingredient price. A 25-cent per pound tomato becomes a $4 per pound sun-dried tomato with 2 days of drying and a branded label. A $2 per pound herb becomes a $15 per ounce dried and packaged product. The farm does not change. The thinking changes. This is the mistake I warned you about at the beginning. Read this slowly, because it matters more than everything else I will say today. Most small farmers design their farm for maximum production. They should be designing it for maximum resilience. Let me explain the difference. A maximum production farm asks, how much can I grow? A resilient farm asks, how long can I survive when things go wrong? And things always go wrong. A drought reduces your water supply by 40%. A new pest arrives that your spray cannot control. A flood wipes out your standing crop. A road closure blocks market access for 3 months. A family medical emergency drains your savings. These are not rare events. Every farmer who has farmed for more than 5 years in the United States has experienced at least 2 of them. The maximum production farm has no buffer. When one thing fails, everything fails. Because every dollar is invested in production, there is no reserve. The resilient farm survives these shocks and sometimes actually benefits from disruptions in the broader supply chain, because it is designed as a system where multiple elements support each other. Concrete design principles for a resilient 1-acre farm. First, water independence. Every farm should have at minimum 2 water sources. A well plus rainwater harvesting. If one fails, you have the other. USDA NRC SEQIP provides cost-share funding for water storage infrastructure. Second, income diversity. At least 4 independent income streams, each generating income on a different timeline. Some daily, milk, eggs, some weekly, vegetables, CSA deliveries. Some monthly, value-added products, farm stays. Some annually, timber, established fruit trees, honey. Third, a 3-month emergency reserve. Before you expand, before you invest in the next section of the farm, build a cash reserve equivalent to 3 months of your farm's total operating costs. This reserve has saved more small farms than any government program. Fourth, feed independence. Grow at least 40% of your animal feed on your property. Fodder crops, sunflower, comfrey, kitchen scraps. Commercial feed prices fluctuate with fuel and commodity markets. Your own land does not. A farm built on these 4 principles can withstand almost anything the environment or the market can produce. I am going to say something that will sound almost insultingly simple. Keep records. Write down how much you spent. Write down how much you earned. Write down which crop gave you the best return per square foot. Write down which animal cost more to maintain than it earned. Most small farmers, and I mean the vast majority of small operators across this country, do not do this consistently. They have a general feeling about whether the farm is profitable. They know roughly what they spent. They remember approximately what they earned. But feelings and approximations cannot tell you which section of your farm is losing money. A farmer I spoke with last year, Thomas, from rural Ohio, was convinced his dairy section was his most profitable. He had 3 cows. He had been raising cattle his whole adult life. He loved those animals when we actually tracked the numbers over 6 months. Feed cost, veterinary cost, labor cost, water cost, infrastructure maintenance. His dairy section was operating at a net loss of $380 per month. His mushroom shed, which he had set up almost as an afterthought in an old tool barn, was generating $1,650 per month in net profit. He had no idea, because he had never written it down. The fix: a simple notebook, date, income source, amount earned, expenses paid, nothing elaborate, 30 seconds per day. This one habit, sustained for 12 months, will show you exactly where to invest more and where to cut losses. The last mistake is one that successful farmers make, not beginners. You start well. One section is working. Income is coming in. You feel confident. And then you expand too fast. You take a loan to build a greenhouse before your dairy section has stabilized. You add 50 more chickens before you have found a consistent buyer for the eggs you already have. You build a guest cottage for agritourism before you have had your first paying visitor. Capital gets stretched. Attention gets divided. The sections that were working get neglected. Everything drops to medium performance instead of a few things performing at their best. Warren Buffett, not a farmer, but the greatest capital allocator in modern history, has one relevant principle. Diversification is protection against ignorance. It makes little sense if you know what you're doing. Apply that to farming. Expand the things you understand deeply. Do not diversify into operations you do not yet understand, simply because they appear profitable on paper. The rule I recommend: do not add a new farm section until your existing sections have produced stable, predictable income for at least 6 consecutive months. 6 months of stability. Then expand. The design: 5 zones. Now that you understand what destroys farms, let me show you what a correctly designed 1-acre system looks like. The structure has 5 zones, and critically, each zone is chosen to eliminate one or more of the mistakes we just covered. Zone 1. Boundary food forest multi-layer planting along all 4 perimeter edges. Canopy timber and nut trees at the top. Black walnut, American chestnut. Fruit trees below. Pawpaw, persimmon, apple. Climbing crops on trellises. Hardy kiwi, elderberry, native grape. Native bee habitat and managed hive boxes at mid-level. Medicinal herbs and ground cover at soil level. This zone produces income from at least 6 different products, eliminating mistake 1. It uses locally adapted species, eliminating mistake 2. It builds soil organic matter passively every year, eliminating mistake 3. Revenue: $600 to $1,500 per month at full maturity. Zone 2, Animal Integration Hub, free-range poultry, dairy goats and a small fish pond, positioned so that waste flows naturally from one system to the next. Goat manure feeds the fish pond. Pond water irrigates adjacent crops. Poultry bedding becomes premium compost for direct sale. This zone creates daily, weekly, and monthly income streams simultaneously, the core of financial resilience from mistake 5. Revenue: $1,600 to $3,000 per month. Combined Zone 3, controlled environment production. A small greenhouse for high-value vegetables and herbs. An adjacent mushroom cultivation unit. A drying and processing shed for value-added products. This zone is specifically designed to sell processed, value-added products, directly eliminating mistake 4. Revenue: $2,200 to $4,500 per month at full operation Zone 4, dairy and energy core. 2 to 3 indigenous or heritage breed dairy animals. A small biogas digester fed by manure. A vermicompost unit fed by digester output. Solar panels for farm electricity. Of this zone eliminates 2 operating costs simultaneously: cooking fuel and electricity. While generating organic fertilizer, the farm consumes internally or sells externally. This is your resilience anchor. Revenue and savings combined: $1,800 to $3,300 per month. Equivalent Zone 5, direct market interface. A small farm kitchen or cafe. Farm visit and agritourism experience. CSA subscription box packaging and pickup station. This zone exists for one purpose: to connect your farm directly to the consumer, permanently eliminating the middleman from the equation and solving mistake 4 at the system level. Revenue: $750 to $1,800 per month. Here is what this design produces, conservatively. After 2 to 3 years of establishment. Zone monthly income, US dollars. Food forest plus beekeeping, $600 to $1,500. Animal integration, $1,600 to $3,000. Greenhouse plus mushroom, $2,200 to $4,500. Dairy plus energy savings, $1,800 to $3,300. Direct market sales, $750 to $1,800. Total $6,950 to $14,100 per month, 1 acre. 7 mistakes avoided. 5 zones working together. That is not a dream. That is a design. The farmer I mentioned at the beginning, the one who lost $180,000. He did not give up. He spent 1 year learning. Then he redesigned from the ground up. He started with Zone 2 only. Animals and the fish pond. Stable, low-cost, daily income. Then Zone 4. Then Zone 1. Slowly, methodically. By year 3, he was earning over $8,000 per month from the same 1 acre where he had once lost everything. The land never changed. He did. And the only difference between what he did in year 1 and what he did in year 4 was this. He stopped listening to people who only showed him the destination and started learning from people who showed him the road. That is what this channel is here to do. If this video gave you something real, subscribe. Share it with one farmer or landowner who needs to hear this. And tell me in the comments, Which of these 7 mistakes have you already made, or almost made? I read every single one. See you in the next video.